Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive into exactly how one backyard gardener completely transformed their tomato harvest using a precise $2 homemade mix. Look, if you've ever dropped 20, 30, or even 40 bucks on a fancy bottle of tomato fertilizer, only to wind up staring at sad, yellowing plants by the time July rolls around, you are in the exact right place. We're looking at a system that totally flips conventional wisdom on its head. It relies on basic kitchen scraps, a couple of cheap household staples, and some incredibly smart timing. Here is our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with the 63-pound secret, then walk through the actual $2 recipe. We'll cover how to steep and apply it safely, adjusting the mix for the season, 3 costly mistakes you definitely want to avoid, and finally, a brilliant frozen banana hack. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the 63-pound secret. 63 pounds. That is, honestly, a staggering amount of Cherokee purple tomatoes. And get this, that massive haul came from just 4 plants sitting in a simple 4x8-foot raised bed in a Sacramento backyard. The gardener actually kept a running tally right on their phone, weighing every single harvest on a digital kitchen scale all the way through September. To really put that into perspective, you have to look at the old way versus the new way. For almost 15 years, this gardener bought those $32 store-bought fertilizers that are super heavy on phosphorus. And you know what happened? The plants would flower, set a handful of fruit, run totally out of fuel, and just turn yellow by July. But switching to this new $2 homemade bucket mix, that pushed the yield to 63 pounds. They literally tripled their harvest with the exact same raised bed, the exact same amount of sun, and really the exact same effort. Moving right along to Section 2, the $2 recipe. So how is a jump like that even possible? Well, this mix really does cost under $2 a batch, mostly because you're using free stuff. You need 5 gallons of water, rainwater is completely free. Half a cup of crushed eggshells from your breakfast, free. 2 cups of worm castings, which you can harvest from a home bin for free, or grab a bag at the garden center for about 15 bucks that'll last you most of the season. Then you just need unsulfured blackstrap molasses from the grocery store, which breaks down to about $1.20 per batch, and plain drugstore Epsom salt at roughly 40 cents a batch. Add it all up, and you're feeding 4 tomato plants for 2 weeks for less than the cost of a cheap cup of coffee. Now, here's the catch. The order you mix this in matters perfectly if you want to wake up those microbes. You can't just toss it all in and stir it like a soup, or that molasses is going to glue straight to the bottom of the bucket. Step 1. Let your water off gas for 24 to 48 hours to get rid of the chlorine. Step 2. Add the sticky molasses and stir for 30 seconds so it dissolves completely. That sugar is what feeds your soil microbes. Step 3. Mix in the Epsom salt for 30 seconds for that crucial magnesium. Step 4. Gently stir in the nitrogen-rich worm castings for about a minute until the water looks like a weak tea. And Step 5. Just sprinkle those calcium-packed eggshells right on top. They'll help buffer the pH and slowly ward off blossom end rot. Okay, Section 3. Steeping and applying safely. Once it's mixed, you stash that 5-gallon bucket in the shade for 48 hours. Pop a loose screen over it so it can breathe, and give it a good stir twice a day with a paint stick. That keeps the oxygen flowing so your aerobic microbes stay alive and happy. After 2 days, you've got to use your nose. A good batch is going to smell faintly sweet and earthy. Think dark beer or fresh soil after a rain. But if it ever smells sour or sulfury, like rotten eggs or a swamp, stop. That means anaerobic bacteria have taken over. Dump it straight on the compost pile, rinse your bucket, and start over. It is absolutely not worth risking root burn over a $2 bag. When it comes to actually feeding the plants, timing is everything. Day 1 of your feeding schedule is the exact day the very first yellow flower opens on any of your plants. From then on, every 14 days, pour exactly 2 cups of the mix in a ring about 6 inches out from the stem. The source literally just uses a red plastic measuring cup from their kitchen for this. And finally, be sure to stop feeding 3 weeks before your first expected frost. That tells the plant, hey, stop pushing new leafy growth and focus all your energy on ripening the fruit you've already got. Next up, Section 4, adjusting for the season. This is not a set-it-and-forget-it formula. Nature shifts, and your mix needs to shift with it. In July, when your plants are leaning sideways under the weight of 30 green tomatoes, they are working on overdrive. So you bump the molasses up to 3 tablespoons to feed that exploding microbial activity. But in September and October, as things cool down, you stretch out the feedings to every 21 days to prevent salt buildup in the soil. And you've got to read the leaves. If you see a purple tinge underneath, that's phosphorus stress, so dial the castings back to 1.5 cups. Pale yellow new growth at the top?
Bump the castings up. The plants will literally tell you what they need if you pay attention.
Section 5. 3 costly mistakes. Let's make sure you don't fall into these traps.
Mistake number 1. Do not pour this sugary, salty mix directly on the leaves. If direct sun hits wet, sugar-coated leaves, it'll burn yellow scorch marks in a day and totally invite fungus. Always water at the base. Mistake 2. Using fresh municipal tap water. The chlorine in tap water will instantly wipe out the microbes you're trying so hard to feed. Always let your water sit out uncovered for 24 hours first. And mistake 3. Jumping the gun. If you hit a young plant with this heavy mix before that first flower opens, you're going to grow a massive 6-foot leafy green bush that has virtually 0 tomatoes on it.
And finally, Section 6, the frozen banana hack.
This brings us to a brilliant little trick from a veteran San Francisco gardener named Gloria. She drops 3 frozen, thawed, and chopped banana peels right into the bucket at the very start of that 48-hour steep. Now, you might be wondering, why frozen? Why not just toss a fresh peel in there and call it a day?
It all comes down to the cell walls. See, fresh banana peels take 3 to 4 weeks to break down. That is way too slow for a 48-hour steep. But when you freeze the peels, the water inside the cells expands and physically ruptures the cell walls. Once they thaw and hit the bucket, they rapidly dump a ton of potassium into your steep in just 48 hours. And why does potassium matter? It gives your growing tomatoes incredible skin elasticity. So when a massive rainstorm hits or you suddenly water a dry plant heavily, the fruit swells up fast. Without potassium, the skin snaps and splits. With potassium, it stretches beautifully.
This whole idea perfectly illustrates Gloria's golden rule for growing flawless balcony tomatoes. Feed the skin, not just the fruit. It's such a simple, practical way to think about your plant's nutrition.
By the way, if you're wondering about the whole ecosystem behind this, like how to easily harvest those worm castings for free at home, the creator actually outlines all of it in their $17 book, The 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Protocol, over at backyardbuddybooks.com. It's a fantastic resource if you want to see the diagrams and the bigger picture of this zero-budget container method. So, what does this all mean for your garden? If you are just totally fed up with sad, struggling plants halfway through the summer, are you ready to mix up your own $2 bucket and see what happens over the next 14 days? You've got the recipe, you know exactly what mistakes to avoid, and you've got that frozen banana hack ready to go. Honestly, it might just be the $2 that changes your harvest forever. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer.